0-150. That's the record that teams trailing 3-0 in an NBA playoff series hold all time. Out of those 150 dubious losers, only 4 have ever come back in the series to force a Game 7. Despite those seemingly insurmountable odds, the Boston Celtics have stormed back from the brink to force a decisive winner-take-all 7th game against the Miami Heat for a trip to the NBA Finals. The Celtics are quite literally in the process of breaking the NBA playoffs and have defied every single statistical and analytical trend in the book. Hey folks, my name is Dylan Brett, and on this channel, we watch the game of basketball from a new perspective. Before we go any further, please consider subscribing if you want to see more NBA content like this. Now, it goes without saying that what Boston is managing to do is historic, but when you consider the numbers and countless years of trends working against them, coupled with their overall body of work this year, this comeback becomes less historic and more so largely unexplainable. Let's look at one of my favorite stats in NBA history, which really puts what this current Celtics team is doing into perspective. From 1959 to 1967, the Boston Celtics set an all-time record with 11 consecutive wins in elimination games. Pretty good for an 8-year stretch, right? Well, the 2023 Celtics have won 6 straight elimination games, with a chance to win their 7th on Monday night in one postseason. If the Celtics manufacture a win on Monday night and pick up their 7th straight elimination game victory, they will be the first to do so in a single postseason in the 76-year history of the NBA. So, how in the world have the Celtics put themselves in a position to do what no team in league history has ever done? The answer mostly lies within their 34-year-old head coach, as Joe Mazzulla has gone above and beyond in putting his players in the best possible position to succeed over the course of this series. You just don't expect to see these kinds of adjustments from a first-year head coach who is younger than some of his own players. What makes it even more mind-blowing is that Mazzulla is doing all of this against a coach in Erik Spoelstra who has won multiple titles and many believe to be the best all-around coach in the league. It really has been a tale of 2 different series for both Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics. It's no exaggeration to say that this team has looked night and day on both ends of the floor, from the first 3 games to the last 3 games of the series, and today we're gonna find out why. So without further ado, let's fire up the film, dive into it, and break down Boston's historic comeback. It's no secret that scoring gets tougher in the playoffs, and the offense we saw from the Celtics in the first 3 games of this series was this odd, isolation-based, heliocentric look designed to generate switches and create advantageous matchups for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Boston used a lot of high ball screen and pick-and-roll action, which largely kept their offense constrained to the middle of the floor. What we ended up seeing as a result were a lot of forced looks from way outside early in the shot clock. The Celtics have since transitioned to a spacing-based 4-out 1-in look, which uses the middle of the floor as a catalyst to create outside looks. The Celtics went from averaging a pace rating of 96.17 in the first 3 games of the series to a pace rating of 90.6 in their 3 straight wins. In addition, the C's have gone from making 253 passes a game to 272 passes per game from the first 3 games to the second 3 of the series. Unsurprisingly, this has resulted in an 11% spike in 3-point percentage. A look at the shot charts from these 2 spans tell you all you need to know about Boston's recent offensive renaissance, as they've taken advantage of more and more space as the series has gone on, while still staying true to their identity in the middle, but using it as more of a stimulant. This new opened-up offense has taken a lot of weight off the shoulders of Boston's dynamic duo and allowed Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to shine as facilitators rather than pure scorers. Tatum is attempting 12 more passes per game on average, which has allowed him to post 23 assists in a 3-game span, compared to 11 in the first 3 games of the series. Playing unselfish basketball and making the extra pass are a must against Miami's zone looks, and the Celtics have seemingly finally realized that after 3 games. Their catch-and-shoot percentage is up 5% from the first 3 to the second 3 games, and they're taking 11% more shots with under 10 seconds remaining on the shot clock. This has allowed the Celtics to spread the floor against Miami's vaunted defense and create more advantageous matchups while staying away from their stellar on-ball defenders. The Celtics now have 5 guys on the court who have been turned turned into playmakers at any given moment as a result of their new spread-out offensive look. Now let's talk defense. So the knock on Jimmy Butler in games 4 through 6 is that he hasn't been aggressive enough on the offensive end. But why? Well, the Celtics have started putting Jason Tatum on Jimmy, which means there are plenty better matchups to seek out and exploit if you're Miami. The C's are doing everything in their power to delay Butler's first touch as long as possible, such as denying dribble handoffs, blitzing ball screens, and even running a box-and-one in select scenarios, and plenty more. The Heat have been forced to waste valuable seconds off the shot clock because of this, as their offense is often triggered and initiated by dribble penetration, and Butler is really the only strong enough ball handler on the court to do so on a consistent basis. The Heat have been forced to rely on guys like Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo to facilitate the offense, neither of which have exhibited the strongest ball skills. Miami has tried to adapt by running large parts of their offense through the high post with Bam, but the Celtics have been able to pick his pockets far too often as he isn't strong enough with the ball. It also doesn't help that their new facilitator went to the Draymond Green school of illegal screening. The C's are almost begging Miami to run their offense through the high post on most possessions, as it makes it much too easy for them to get out in transition and go from defense to offense in the blink of an eye. Okay, so now let's talk about the man of the hour and the guys that really make this squad click, the role players. It can be easy to solely look at the star-studded future half-billion-dollar duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown when breaking down this comeback, but Saturday night proved that they don't tell the entire story at all. Role players such as Derek White have been heroes for this team all season long, especially in a system so dependent on spacing in the final few games of the series. A few weeks back on the Old Man and the Three podcast, resident ball knower JJ Redick said this about the Game 6 hero, and it couldn't be more spot on.
Derek White, obviously. Yeah. Me, Derek White is the ultimate Alfred. Are you familiar with Batman Begins? You've seen the movie?
I'm more of a Marvel guy, but yeah.
Yeah, so Ra's al Ghul, he burns Batman's house down. Bruce Wayne goes in, the burning beam falls on him, and he's stuck there. House is on fire, burning beams on him, can't get it off. And who comes in to save him? Alfred, right? And to me, Derek White is the ultimate Alfred. Any matchup, any series, he's going to figure out a way to make an impact and help the stars.
White's buzzer-beating heroics have undoubtedly shot him into the world spotlight, but few have recognized his consistent under-the-radar contributions to this well-oiled machine on both ends of the floor. His Game 6 stat line quite literally tells the whole story, as he finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks, stuffing the stat sheet all night long. But let's dig deeper to unearth his true impact on this Celtics comeback. Let's start on the defensive side. In Game 6, with Derek White as his primary defender, Jimmy Butler went scoreless on 14 possessions, shooting 0 of 8 from the field. When contested by White, Heat players as a whole shot 1 of 12 from the field, with an 0 of 4 mark from beyond the arc. Offensively, it's clear to see how much of a catalyst for this team White is, as they've won every single playoff game where he boasts an assist-to-turnover ratio of 2 or better. As JJ put it, the ultimate Alfred certainly has had his impact felt from both the shadows and under the bright lights this postseason. This can be said for countless under-the-radar stars on this team. Marcus Smart, Al Horford, both Williams, the list just keeps going on. So that was my take on trying to explain the unexplainable. The young upstart Joe Mazzulla has learned the art of the 7-game chess match in record fashion and somehow found a way to elevate his players to a new level with their backs against the wall. Look, nobody will ever be able to break down the science or math of momentum, but if you recall, a certain Marcus Smart did say this prior to Game 4.
Feel good about tonight?
Feel very good about tonight. Don't let us get one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just don't let us get one. So don't let us get
Kevin
this
Millar?
One. There you go. That's it. Big time, baby.
Prophet, idiot, lucky, the world may never know. But as the basketball world looks towards Game 7 on Monday, history will likely finally be on Boston's side for the first time in the entire series. Of those 4 teams we mentioned earlier to force Game 7 after being down 3-0, the Celtics will be the first to own home court advantage in the winner-go-home game. And look, regardless of how this series turns out, one may think that they're walking into a buzzsaw against the well-rested Denver Nuggets. However, history tells us a slightly different story. In NBA history, there have been 7 instances of one conference final series going 7 games, while the other ends in a sweep. This year will be the 8th. In such instances, teams that swept their conference finals opponent hold just a 4-3 record in the NBA Finals against a team that won 7 games. The most recent example of this is in the 2013 finals between the Spurs and Heat. San Antonio swept Memphis in the conference finals, while Miami went 7 games with Indiana. Miami proceeded to win the title in 7 games with some of the most heroic performances we've ever seen. In the end, one thing's for sure this year, and that's that history is going to be made no matter what, regardless of the way this magical run concludes.